condemning Israel and blaming Israel like they're the only problems in the Middle East is just nonsense. Within the last 24 hours, the Australian government has sided with 24 other countries around the world to calling for peace in Gaza and condemning the Israeli government and military for what is happening in Gaza. Look, you know, the American government has come out and said this is a disgrace. I tend to agree with it. But the background is, since the Albanese government has come to power in 2022, it has shifted our focus away from Israel, our ally. In fact, they've been an ally of ours since the creation of the Israeli state again in 1948. In fact, we were one of the first countries at the UN to move the motion for the creation of the modern state of Israel. And we've been very closely aligned and working together ever since those days. And we're very close allies, and we've been very close allies for decades. What happened on the 7th of October with the invasion and massacre of Israeli citizens, also American citizens and citizens from other countries around the world in southern Israel, where people were raped, where people were mutilated, where people were killed, where babies were killed, and people were kidnapped and taken into Gaza by the terrorist organisation Hamas. And I say that it is a terrorist organisation because I believe it is a terrorist organisation, and the world believes it is a terrorist organisation. All our allies have got it listed as a terrorist organisation, and its sole purpose is the destruction of Israel and the killing of Jews. And it says so, it said so in its charter, and it's been saying that ever since, that it wants to destroy the state of Israel. Australia has always stood with Israel. Australia has always stood with Israel. It is the only functioning, fully democratic, liberal democracy in the Middle East. In the Middle East, it is the only multicultural, multi-ethnic society where people live in peace. It's the only place in the Middle East where gays, lesbians, and transgender people can live in peace. You have Palestinians who make up something like 20% of the population, so over 20% of the population, who are able to function in that society as equals with everyone else. They have the same rights, the same voting power. They sit in the Knesset, which is the Israeli parliament. They've been elected there. They've been judges. They have served in the Israeli Defense Forces. They are a functioning part of the wider Israeli state. Since the Albanese government has come to power in 2022, they have taken a position of no matter what happens over there in the Middle East, they have always come out and sided against Israel and made their voice very strong against it. And this condemnation by Australia, sitting with these 24 other countries, is an example of that. Here we have Israel fighting for its life, fighting against terrorist organisations like Hamas, fighting against terrorist organisations like Hezbollah, and also helping and supporting minority groups like the Druze and the Christians in Syria, who at this very moment are being slaughtered by terrorist organisations and members of the current government as well. You're seeing a whole lot of war and slaughtering of people in the Middle East. We must keep on standing with Israel for peace. I support peace as much as anyone else. But the reality is you're never going to have peace in the Middle East, in that very Eastern Mediterranean, while terror organisations like Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Islamists are still operating and supported by the rogue state, the mullahs of Iran. There could be peace tomorrow. All they have to do is release the hostages, get Hamas to release the hostages and surrender, and peace will come to that area. The Abraham Accords were the way forward. It is still the only way forward, where Israel and its Arab neighbours can work together for a better, beautiful future for the people of the Middle East. Condemning Israel and blaming Israel like they're the only problems in the Middle East is just nonsense and blindness to the reality of what is happening on the ground. So, as an Australian, I'm very disgusted with what the Australian government is doing and how it is just taking a one-sided approach to this whole Gazan war.